Hello, friends. It's kind of late in the week because we've been preparing for a trip to my fiance's parents' house. We haven't been able to see them in a while, but they're both vaccinated now. Yay! So we can see them safely and not worry about their health. Though, have a problem, and it's this. My work corner is just a hot mess. And also, this is where all my leather things are, the ones that aren't over here. So I need to do some reorganizing. I have this very convenient thing. It's 3 drawers. I almost exclusively use the top one, and that's where all my leather stuff is. So I need to do some reorganizing, some prioritizing, and I think you guys are going to come along with me on that journey, so buckle up. So I have cleared off my workbench and put away some things. I've also started putting some tools and various things on the floor. These are the 3 bins that were in there where Death is. Hi, Death. Bean! She's busy investigating. Don't pounce on her. Hey, Stinky. Okay. So the goal is to put all of this distributed across these 3 things. But Paige, you cry in alarm. There's already things in these 2. Yes, you are correct. So part 1 is to find a place for these things that I don't access as frequently. That smaller bin to the right of the black bins might be where a good chunk of this goes. I also have this storage thing that I call my R2 unit that's got some space in it for things that I don't frequently access. Trying to just prioritize frequent access, which right now is all of this. A lot of this is fabric dyes, beading stuff, just things that I really don't use very often. So beading I use for moccasins, so that might be able to stay in one of these, but I'd really like to focus on tools, stain finishes, stain applicators, stuff like that, and then like fasteners, thread, and other such needs. So I'm going to take everything out of these, and then the great sorting shall begin. And it's possible that these things might just not have a home for a little bit, but it'd be really cool, because we're going out of town tomorrow. It'd be really cool to come back on Monday evening to this very nicely organized set of bins with all of my tools ready to go so I can tackle some of my orders. I've got some moccasins to do and switch cases to make. I have leaf pack number 2 to make, and I'm super excited about that. So it'll be nice to come home and have something clean and organized. So I'm going to empty all these out, and then we'll see what we can do. This is my little stain sheet, so that people can see stain options on my Etsy. It's a physical sheet that I photographed for that purpose. Okay, I've now unleashed a nightmare upon my floor. The 3 bins are now empty. The cats are fascinated. And let's see what we have here. This is all other stuff. This is from an old project that I still want to finish at some point. If you are a Lord of the Rings fan, you'll recognize this warped ivy leaf as a Malorn leaf. My plan was this is a canvas fabric, and I have fabric wax that I can apply to these and trim them and kind of put a little stitching along the edge so it doesn't fray. And then you can use them to fold up snacks. And they're waxed, so they're all safe from spillage and crumbs and stuff like that. Because I make these really good, they're supposed to be homemade graham crackers, but when you make them gluten-free, They taste how I imagine lambas would taste, which is probably not accurate, because it's supposed to be like a hardtack, but these gluten-free graham crackers are like a delicious kind of cinnamony cookie, and I love them. But they look just like lambas, so I like to fold them up in here because they're little squares. But anyway, that's for another time. That can go live somewhere else, probably my fabric bin. All of this stuff that Kiwa is investigating right now is bookbinding supplies for more closed spine binding, like traditional medieval binding. So these are boards underneath there for the front and back. I've got glue and different kinds of string for headbands and for creating texture underneath the leather. I've got linen to put on the spines to help bind those together. And I have a healthy amount of bookbinding stuff, so it mayhaps would not hurt to have a bookbinding spot, but I haven't done it much recently such that I needed these materials. I do a lot more of the Coptic stitch binding, which doesn't require glue and all that stuff, which is why it's so great. You can do it really fast. And then I've got fabric dye and beading things, and then some old sketchbooks that definitely need to go somewhere else, and then a beading catalog, because I order beads sometimes. But yeah, you can see I've got thread, I've got lots of dye. That's one of the major things I need a spot for is dye and paint. I'm pretty sure this copper one is Bill's. Sorry, Bill, I'll bring that back. This was the first kind of starter kit that my mom and sister got me for Christmas, or my birthday, I think, from Tandy, that sort of set me up with all my basic tools. It was a really great kit. It really helped to start me off before I got some other things. This thing, I also highly recommend. This is an easy tool for putting in eyelets, grommets, snaps, all kinds of stuff. I use this all the time, and it prevents you from having to use the traditional setter, which you can also see in here, which works just fine. But this is nice because you can just put the kind of dies on this clamp and then squeeze it with your hands and it just does it. It's very magical and quiet and nice. And then I just have an assortment of all kinds of tools. So I think my categories are going to be tools and then dyes and finishes and then fasteners and like thread and stuff like that. And it's possible that I could get away with just doing 2 bins. So we'll see. I may get creative. I've got some spare cardboard boxes laying around. I might try to, like, I don't know, duct tape in some dividers or something. So I'm going to try to separate some piles on the floor and sort of see where that puts me. I've had these in a box for a while, and I don't think I want them like that anymore. I think ideally what I would have is a setup where they're upright, because I feel like all of these should fit just fine upright, because not a lot of them are super tall, just because it's not great to have to shuffle through here, especially when I have things like this. This is my skiving knife. This thing is sharp, and I just have some cardstock on it because it doesn't have a sheath or anything, but I don't really want to be like rummaging around in here with literal razor blades floating around. So I feel like it'd be nicer to have them vertically so I can grab them by the handle, or even more ideally, I'd have something along the side where they're all kind of arranged individually so I can actually see what they are. But I think that's getting a little ambitious. I don't want to spend all evening on this. I just need to get myself something where I can actually see everything that's in here. So I'm going to start with separating things into piles. Smaller piles. Less piles. More piles? Too many piles. And then we'll go from there. While Kiwa freaks out on the cat tower. What are you doing? Are you hyper? Do you have the zoomies? Do you have the zoomies? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You vicious beast. You vicious beast. Yes. The most vicious beast. We're all very impressed. Okay. Back to work. I'm weak. I did the thing. I had just a good category of 2 things, and it wasn't quite enough to put into one box, and I didn't want my tools rolling around everywhere. So I just grabbed a piece of cardboard, threw some duct tape on it, so it stays nice and set in the middle. One side will be tools, one side will be fasteners and thread, and I think that'll work out great. Then I can put all my bookbinding stuff back in here, possibly with some beading things. It hurts me a little bit to have kind of a joint box, but for right now I think that's fine since both of them are things that I don't do terribly often. So yeah, this should help a lot. Let's get going. We've done it, friends. So, let me get down to ground level. What are you fascinated by, Kat? You're very fascinated. So, bottom drawer. Beading and bookbinding. At least they're alphabetically similar. That's really all I have going for me. These are a little tall. Dies, dye applicators, finishing things, edge finishing things. Oh my goodness. And then tools and fasteners and thread. Now, you might be asking, Paige, is this smaller pile really that much better than your bigger pile? And to you I say, for now, yes. Yes, it is. I can actually kind of see whatever's in here. It's a little bit easier to rummage and acquire handles, as opposed to them being literally underneath everything that's in the second drawer, and they're at least somewhat categorized. So that makes a big difference. But most importantly, look how clean this is now. So now I have much easier access to my stuff. It's not all jammed into one drawer, and that should hopefully help us all be a little more productive. All right, we've done it. Well, friends, that's all I've got for you this week. We had to take up quite a bit of time prepping to go out of town, and I'm doing a bunch of orders and prepping for the launch of my Druid-themed collection in March. I should be announcing more info about that very soon. I know I say that every time, but it's getting closer, I promise. Okay. Thank you for hanging out with me while I reorganized my things. I really needed to get that done, so I'm excited that it happened. It should make working on stuff much, much easier. We'll be out of town for a bit, and then I will see you guys next week. Have fun, make good shit, and stay safe. Be good to each other, make nice choices, eat good food, all that good stuff. I'll see you next week.